welcome to Business Talk Sister Talk. I'm Becca.
And I'm Ruthie.
And today's episode is the internet as a career path. We have someone with us who let us try out being a guest on his podcast for the day, Screw the Commute. A natural comedian, he looks out for what we think is the little guy, but at least he still knows what he's worth. And we have dubbed him the flamboyant diamond in disguise. Please welcome. Please welcome Tom Antion.
What does that even mean? Flamboyant.
It's a word that I invented.
Flamboyant. You made it up? Who made it up? Ruthie?
I made it up. Yeah. It's a cross between being a ham and being flamboyant. So you're flamboyant.
Oh man. Cher will love that. She loves all her flamboyant fans.
Well, we and for you guys who are just listening, we told him that we were going to give him a nickname and we were going to prank him by introducing him as that.
Flamboyant.
So yeah, thanks so much for being here with us today. We're super excited to have you.
I am thrilled too. We had a blast on my podcast, getting to know your family dynamic. so let's lay it on them. The internet as a career path.
So tell us what do you do?
What do I do? Well, in the last now going on 27 years, I've been selling on the commercial internet since it started in 1994. So I started selling on there, and then I got so good at it, people started begging me to teach them how to do it. And so I both sell my own stuff and I teach other people how to do it too.
Nice. That's awesome. Okay. So what was
the beat's working for a living? Put it that way.
You're implying that that's not a lot of work, and it sounds like it's really
well. The old saying is that an entrepreneur will work 80 hours a week for himself to get out of working 40 hours for somebody else. So that's totally true, because I'm a fanatic. I could have quit long time ago, but I just love it so much, and I love seeing people successful. I love meeting two crazy sisters, and how would have I ever met you two that live, I don't know, somewhere out in different planet. I don't know where you guys live.
Okay, so you kind of touched on this a little bit, but tell us about your why. You kind of mentioned that you like working with people, but what was your why behind getting started with?
Well, it was a severe desire to avoid working for a living. I mean, that's really how it came about. I've always had my own job. That's my podcast is Screw the Commute. So I never actually had a job. Well, I actually applied for a job once. One time, because I saw it said 401k. And I thought, man, that's a good salary, $401,000 to start. Apparently that wasn't it. But so anyway, I was, I've been a professional speaker. I've had many different businesses, had an entertainment company, but in the professional speaking business, I was selling my information products in the form of a cassette tape, which probably neither one of you ever seen before. And it was hard enough to sell stuff across the street, let alone around the world. So when the commercial internet started coming around in 1994, I thought, are you kidding me? You mean I can sell my stuff around the world from my desktop? I'm going to figure this out. And that's how, I just jumped all over, because I had always worked out of my home. Now the speaking, I had to go and speak at different events all around the place. But for the most part, I've always worked out of my home. In fact, I had a nightclub for 6 years, and I lived above the nightclub. So technically I had a nightclub in my basement. So that's why I jumped on the internet, because it was a way to expand my reach exponentially, and as long as you learn how to do it.
Yeah, so I have a question about that, because it's not very often that I get to talk to somebody who's been on the internet for for so long. How have you seen the internet change over time, and what did that look like for you as you went through different phases of that?
Well, yeah. So in the beginning, literally, you'll find this hard to believe. We would have to download a video for 2 to 3 hours. and it would only play at the size of a postage stamp. I mean, that's literally how it was. The speeds were really low. It was dial up. And so it was just really, really slow. Fast forward to today, and I use the word fast because things are lightning fast now. And then the other thing that's changed is there's just enormous amounts of tools available to you that are really inexpensive, but extremely powerful. So that's been the big change over the years. It's still been selling stuff online and communicating online, but the speeds are just outrageous now, and the tools available to you now are outrageous.
So
Okay.
you probably made a lot of coffee while you were waiting for stuff to download in the past, huh?
No, you didn't make coffee. You went to went to the movies, because you could see it, the whole thing real big right there, right away in the movies theater. But you come back, it's halfway done. It's halfway downloaded.
You paint your entire house. Okay, so why did you pick the internet? Like, what was your reason behind specifically that?
Well, the internet picked me basically because I just had this severe thought in my head that I never want to work for anybody else, and so this was a pathway that allowed me to do as much as I want, as make as much money as I wanted, to do it anytime, day or night. Now, in the beginning, it was, there wasn't, super fast laptops, and there wasn't Starbucks where you could go in and get Wi-Fi. There wasn't any Wi-Fi, it didn't exist. So once it started evolving, then it was really like, oh, this is a perfect lifestyle for me and for millions of people around the world, where you can do it from anywhere, and you can reach out. Money's going into your checking account while you're. I mean, everybody, cliche, why make money while you sleep? Well, it's absolutely true if you set up the proper infrastructure and you reach people and you give them good value. Money comes into your checking account while you're sleeping and while you're awake too. That's even double whammy.
Yeah,
Okay,
so
Says the hemboyant. What was I? Hemboyant what?
Hamboyant, diamond in the rough, I think is
Is
what
it
Becca said.
H-E-M or H-A-M?
H-A-M.
Oh, I'm thinking hemboyant. What does that mean? Hamboyant.
No,
Okay.
diamond in disguise. That's sorry.
Diamond in disguise. So that's, it was just a clear path and perfect for me in the way I like to live my life.
Nice.
So what lessons have you learned while you've been working for yourself? Like, how did you first start out doing that to make a living? And then you learned, like, this is actually a good way to go about things.
Well, you're talking the internet, but keep in mind, I have been in my own formal business for 45 years. And even since I was 10 years old, I was selling stuff. So I was always entrepreneurial. My dad was entrepreneurial. In fact, Hollywood has done a documentary about me and my dad, who came over from Syria on a cattle boat and became an entrepreneur and turned me into an entrepreneur. And then I've helped thousands of entrepreneurs. So that's going to be premiering this spring sometime, called The American Entrepreneur. So it was, it was just a perfect vehicle. You couldn't have had a better vehicle, and it's a perfect vehicle now for people. And I've been preaching this for 22 years since I've been teaching this stuff, but work at home used to be like a dirty word, like, oh, that's a scam. That's a scam. And now look, everybody's working from home. Right. And
I don't think you can take credit for a pandemic, and maybe you shouldn't.
No, I'm not taking credit for the pandemic, but I'm just saying that it's saying, look, you can legitimately work from home, and this is a perfect vehicle for it. And with my school, you can actually learn from home and legitimately work from home. So it's perfect for disabled people and all kinds of people. And then all these families that had to quit working because the kids weren't in school and nobody to watch them. So it would have never messed their family up at all had they been able to sell online as a career.
Yeah. Okay, so in selling online and all of your internet business ventures, how do you know what is a good place to invest your time and what would be a waste of your time?
Well, I always go for things that are high return and low cost. There was a dot-com bubble, they called it back, 10, 12 years ago, or even more, and where they were throwing millions of dollars at stuff and then getting no returns. So I do opposite of that. I do things that are extremely low cost with massive returns. And then if it doesn't work, you can try something else. And if that doesn't work, you can try something else and you didn't just shatter your whole financial future. So the thing is keep your costs low and the returns high. And now when, I don't sell any cassettes or even hardly CDs or DVDs anymore. I do have some DVDs, but most of it is digital. So that means it's 97% profit. So if you can learn how to do this, and I got probably a dozen places you can do this with not even a website. So the idea is to keep your costs low and your returns and profit margins high, and you can afford to mess up a bunch and still be profitable and make a living at it.
Yeah. So where do you think people commonly struggle with that when they're trying to figure that out?
Well, they have to believe that they can do it, first of all, because there's been just so many scams out there. So I don't blame them for being skeptical, but they struggle because there's so many people that never really made any money trying to tell you how to get rich. And so, and they're really great at copywriting. And I'm really a big fan of copywriting. I have a course on it. But the thing is they could take, a piece of dog do and tell you how great it is. And you got to have this greatest dog do. But I got to tell you, you could pour sugar on dog do all day long and it's not going to turn out to be candy. Okay. It's still bad. And so they get sucked into spending money on things that are really terrible and worthless. So it's good to have somebody in your court that has been there and done that and can steer you away from all the scams. And that happened to me. I mean, the first 2 years, I didn't make a nickel. I did not make a nickel until I got good training from a guy named Corey Rudel. Unfortunately, he died in a tragic car accident, but he was my first teacher. He was making $5 million a year from his apartment. All right. And so he was the real deal, brilliant guy. And he was my first teacher. And as soon as after 2 years of struggling on my own, as soon as I got training from him, I started making money. It wasn't like it is now, but it was $50 a week, and then 100, then 500, then 1,000, then 10,000. We have $30,000 weeks now. So it's really good to get good training from somebody credible, but you really got to do your due diligence because there's so many people that make themselves look credible when they're really ripoffs. In fact, I have another Hollywood show in development called Scam Brigade. You can see the trailer at scambrigade.com. where I go after bad people because I'm really and I stand up for the underdog because it's too easy to get robbed and ruin the whole industry for all of it.
Mm-hmm.
Which fits with your catchphrase that we made for you, that you fight for the little guy, you stand up for the little guy. So that's
I'm a flamboyant diamond
in disguise
necklace or something.
a diamond necklace. Okay, so I would wholeheartedly agree with you that there's so many different scams and things out there, and people have all these get rich quick schemes. So how do you know if something is going to be valuable to other people? Like if you're looking at one of those programs and things where they're like, oh, do this and then you get all these clients, like how do you really vet what's people want?
Well, you have to do what we call keyword research, and that can be totally free, where you see where is there a demand for whatever your idea is. And did you ever hear of CSI?
Mm-hmm.
What's it mean to you?
Something about solving murders.
Crime scene investigation.
Yeah, that's what you think it is, right? No, to me, it's crappy, stupid idea. And everybody's ideas, including my own, are crappy and stupid. until you can prove they aren't with real numbers. And what that means is, somebody thinks up an idea, they build all these websites and get all the social media and everything to match, and then crickets are chirping because nobody wanted that idea. So that's backwards. What you do is you do keyword research, and that'll tell you how many people are searching for your idea, how many people are searching on related ideas or something close to your idea before you make an investment. And then you go do product research. See, a lot of people think, oh, there's so many products out there. I can't do that idea because there's too many products. No, that's backwards too. The more products there are in a market, that proves there's a demand there. See, if there's no products in a market, that's either you hit the lottery, you're going to get rich and sell gazillions, but more likely is nobody could make any money in that field. And so nobody has any products. So if there's products in there, that means there's a market, and that proves there's a demand. And I call this my pizza shop theory. If you make a good pizza, I mean, there's a massive demand for pizza in the world, right? So if you do a good job making pizza and run your business well, you'll get your fair share of the business. So don't go into something obscure because it costs a fortune to crack the market, and then there may not be a market. So it's too risky that way.
Mm-hmm. So who do you think is like the typical person that you see success using the internet as an income? Like, what kind of people do well at that?
The successful people are the ones that stick to it, because nothing about this is hard. It's just there's enormous moving parts. It's like a jigsaw puzzle where you have all these pieces out in front of you, but you don't have the box. So you have no idea what it's supposed to look like. And so that's where a good coach or mentor will help you put those things together. But the ones that are successful are the ones that are persistent and consistent, because just about anything can make money online if you stick to it enough and you keep your costs low and it's got a good profit margin. So it's nothing to do with people that are brilliant marketers and any of that. The techniques are kind of all the same. It's just that you have to keep going until you find the thing that works for your product and service. And a lot of people are too easy to quit nowadays and say, oh, it didn't work. No, you didn't work. You didn't stick to it and find the way to make it work. And so it's persistent and consistency are the traits of the successful people.
Okay. So how important is it to be diversified in the different areas of the internet that you're utilizing and trying to be successful?
Well, there literally is a gazillion ways to make money, but it's important to be diversified, but not in the beginning. Okay. And that's the typical, ooh, squirrel, ooh, shiny object kind of thing. And nobody is ever successful that way. I've had over 1,700 students in my big program and tens of thousands of people in my audiences all around the world. And the ones that try to get 10 things going never make any money. They always fizzle. The people that pick something, research it properly, make sure that it's viable and stick to it, they make money. And then once they learn how to do it correctly, that's when you can take the same set of skills to the next topic that you want to talk about, or product. Like I have 2 German Shepherds over there. So I have a protection dog company on the side. I've got a tennis DVD that I sell. I had golf sites and things, but not all at once and not all at the beginning. So it's important to be diversified, but not in the beginning.
Mm-hmm. So would you say that being a business-minded person has helped you in life?
Yeah. Well, let me change the question slightly. Being a small business person has helped me in life.
Mm-hmm.
A big business person, oh, what do they learn? Well, they learn nepotism, they learn backstabbing, they learn it takes 2 weeks committee meeting to go to the bathroom. They learn to gossip, that. So being a small business person, that, and I've hired hundreds of people over the years, but I mean, still, I'm the bottom line. And so that gives you this unstoppability that you know that you can make it no matter what. You can scratch and crawl and you can be successful. Where a big business person, it's like, oh, well, pass the buck, blame them over there because they didn't get the stuff to us on time and all these kinds of excuses. When a small business person, they look around, oh, I can't pass this to anybody. It's me. So that really makes you tough inside, and you learn to overcome obstacles. In fact, you can't see it right now, but there's a thing behind me where my dad, when I could just crawl, would put my pillows in front of me and put my toys on the other side of them to teach me how to overcome obstacles before I could even walk. And so to this day, I'm unstoppable. I mean, I won't cheat anybody or step on them to get where I'm going. But if you tell me I can't do something, I'm going to blow by you doing it. In fact, when somebody tells you, for your audience out there, that you can't do something, that doesn't mean anything. It means they can't do it. Okay. So it doesn't mean you can't do it. So the being in a small business and being successful at it, not that I've always been successful. I mean, I got wiped out one time in the nightclub business. Well, not only did I almost get killed because I was in over 100 violent encounters with bikers trying to kill me and gunfights and knife fights and all that stuff. But yeah, but as long as something doesn't kill you, you can turn it into something good. So I have another website called Brutal Self-Defense. And so it's like every nasty thing you can do to another human being, but only in self-defense purposes. But anyway, the drinking, I had the second biggest nightclub in the state, and the drinking age went from 18 to 21 in a college town. Wiped me out. I lost $400,000 in one shot, and I was working 7 days a week for 6 years straight to build the place up, and it was all wiped out. So, that can devastate people, where, yeah, it was devastating at the time, but with my dad in the back of my head and, you're unstoppable. This is just the setback. You can come out of this. And so I refused to go bankrupt, and I went to every creditor and I said, look, me, I'm not going to stick you with all these bills. You give me time and I'll pay them all off. And so I did not go bankrupt. I paid everybody every nickel off over time. And that's showing integrity. And that's a big part of the success in business too, because it sets you apart from all the ripoffs.
Mm-hmm. And how is it sounded like, are you debt free now?
I'm consumer debt free, but when you're in business, you want to keep a certain amount of debt. And I don't have to, but I keep a certain amount going because you always want to have good credit. And so if you have zero stuff going on, if some big opportunity comes up, you don't have credit. So I'm consumer debt free, but I still, my, business things, we on purpose. In fact, I was lucky to know a guy, I can't tell you his name, but he's a billionaire, and he's the one that taught me that. He didn't, he could buy his whole city if he wanted to. And he said, no, you got to keep two things he told me. He said, Tom, you need to set aside time to think. That's part of your job, is to just think. And then he said, the other thing is you keep lines of credit always revolving, and, don't pay fortunes in interest and anything, but just keep things going so that you're always have current high, scores and all that stuff. And when you need something, quick, boom, the money's already there.
And how do you think that has kind of set you up for success in being able to jump on those new opportunities and kind of averting risk in that, because you're financially stable to do so?
Hasn't done a thing for me.
Okay.
Well, the reason it hasn't done a thing for me is because every business I've started is extremely low cost. And I mean, it's just a computer, basically, maybe a printer. So I never had to take advantage of those things to use them, but I never know what the future holds. So it hasn't really done a lot for me yet, but I got a super high credit rating, got lines of credit that I could pull in enormous amounts of money if I wanted to, but I don't really want to because it's almost against the way I teach. Keep the costs low and the returns high. So it doesn't cost much to start an internet business. Like I said, you could have people tomorrow, getting money coming in just going on eBay. And that's, in fact, when people are desperate and come to me quick, I got to make money quick, I put them on eBay because they could clean out their basement and have money coming in through PayPal like in a day or so. So there's just so many opportunities out there, but I don't want people, financing big stuff and trying to go for, big startups and things like that. It's just too risky. So people do it all the time. It's just, I wouldn't teach them that.
So how do you set goals for yourself as an entrepreneur?
Well, I've never reached a goal in my entire life. Never.
Okay.
Yeah. And so this is a mind game I play on myself. I'm trying to keep track of who's asking questions. I think that was Ruthie, right?
No, that was Becca.
Oh, okay. Because there's a box here that goes back and forth like who's talking. So I have a mind. A lot of my success has been mind games on myself. So my mind game is that as soon as I get close to a goal, it disappears, and there's one goes past it, and that keeps me just moving forward all the time. Because what happens if you reach your goal? Then what? You look around and say, "Oh, I guess I retire now." What? so no, I use that mind game on myself. I've never reached a goal. It's always something past it. And then another mind game, while I'm thinking of mind games, is that I announce what I'm going to do to the world, and then I'm too embarrassed not to do it. So if times get tough, I keep going. All right.
So peer pressure accountability.
Yeah, I make my own peer pressure. Yeah, because I don't see the people that just are looking and visualizing a successful business. Well, they're dreamers. It only happens when you take the action, and so the action is stimulated by internally by me. But when times get tough, not quitting is because I don't want people to say he's a dreamer. He's people look at me as a guy of action, not a dreamer. And so that's just another mind game I play on myself. I announce it to the world, and some things, really big things I've done, like this retreat center I'm sitting in. I told people I was going to buy this multi-million-dollar facility with no money down. And everybody's mortgage brokers are laughing at me and yeah, you're doing well, but you ain't doing that well. I got a no money down deal. Now, did I take it? No, because the interest rate was a little bit too high. So I put 5% down. All right. So like I said before, when people tell you can't do something, that means they can't do it.
So I have a two-part question for you. So the first part is, when you first started out, what advice would you want to go back and give yourself? And then the second part of it is, what tools and resources would you recommend to somebody who wants to start out?
Okay. So what would I, what was that first one? What would I tell myself if I was starting over?
Yeah.
Oh boy. Well, if I was starting over, I probably honestly would not have started my school. And I love my school. When it's a unique, great facility, has had great results. It's just that I kind of knew it was going to be against my personality to deal with the education system, because things that, like, for instance, when a school started, we had all these things, and my final approval after 3 years is supposed to go to the board meeting for the final approval of my school. And I get a call, I checked everything, everything's ready to go. I get a call and say, hey, and this is a week before the board meeting. They say, Mr. Antion, we forgot to put you on the agenda for the board meeting. I said, well, it's next week. Just go ahead. Oh, okay, no problem. Go ahead and do it. we can't really do it now. It's all set in stone. What? The next board meeting is not for 6 months. It cost me $30,000 in rent on the,
Hmm.
you know, and they say, sorry, you know, and they're doing their nails probably, you know, so, or, yeah. I've had, that's been tough for me to do that, because I could have made as much or more money and not had the school behind me. So that's something I would have changed, is just be careful. And the bottom line there would be, make sure you're doing something that you belong and you like and you're going to appreciate, not something that's going to be totally opposite of what you like, you know, because you won't stick with it. You know, that's the bad part.
Yeah. So I wanted to touch on the tools and resources, because I think you have a couple things that you already have going on that I thought you might want to mention too, so people know where to find you.
Well, I do want to give them a free resource.
Woohoo!
Yeah. This is, you heard me mention it on my podcast. It's an automation book. It's all the things I do to automate myself. I mean, I got to 150,000 subscribers and 40,000 customers with one part-time temp person. And because I was able to do all this stuff with these automation tools, the only time I started hiring people was when the accountant called me up and said, hey, Tom, you have too much retained earnings. And I'm like, what do you mean? He says, yeah, I said, I'm going to pay more tax because I haven't been buying yachts and airplanes and stuff. Yeah, I'm sorry. So I said, I'd rather hire people than buy bombs for the government. So, so that's when I started. But anyway, in this ebook is all of these tips and tricks to handle things lightning fast. And just one of the things that you see in the book has saved me 7.5 million keystrokes. We actually estimated it a couple of years ago. It's probably more than that now. So yeah, and I think the most expensive one there is $20, the tools that I show, and many of them are free. Including cell phone automation tips and all kinds of stuff. So that's at screwthecommute.com/automate free, screwthecommute.com/automate free. And then drop me a note and tell me you heard it on the
Business
Sister
Talk,
Gawks.
Sister Gawk.
What is
Business Talk Sister Gawk.
Yeah, I know what it is. It's just that we're not looking at each other, so I'm just gawking at the blank screen right now.
Well, that transitions us into our final portion, which I'm excited about. So Tom and I
Good
talked
transition, Tom.
a little bit beforehand about some of the previous things that he's done in his life, and he told me that he had a story for us about his prank company. And I just love the fact that you owned a company that was specifically designed for practical jokes.
I know. Yeah. It was like Candid Camera, but it was live. And this was long before Punked and all that. And I was on radio and TV all over the world because of it. But so let me tell you about what happened one Saturday morning. This lady called me up and she was frantic because she had forgotten her best friend's birthday. And this is in Washington, D.C. area. And her best friend owned this hair salon that, I mean, it was really ritzy. You know, there's a lot of ritzy stuff up there. And he had won a Rolls Royce, for hair designs. That's the kind of level we're talking about, a really fancy place. And the Saturday morning, I'm thinking, okay, I'll call you back. I didn't know what I was going to do. So I was taking my dog out. His name is Freeway. And because I found him on the side of the road, all busted up. And every summer, he would bite himself to get hot spots, and there's like patches of hair missing all over him. So I'm thinking, hair salon. And so I called her back up and I went down, and this is what I did. So I barge into the place with Freeway and I start raving that my wife had the dog groomed there the day before and his hair was falling out. And Freeway is like running around all over the place. I mean, he's not scary, but he's just running around the lobby of this fancy hair salon. And I said, he's a show dog. And I called him Farnsworth. I said, Farnsworth has got a show tomorrow. And I demanded that they Federal Express a canine toupee kit in for him for his show. And the owner's freaking out, and I had my business card was a little devil sticking his tongue out, and I stuck it right in his face. And this was very common, that people get so flustered they wouldn't even. He took the card and he said, "Oh." I said, "Okay, I'm going to put Farnsworth out in the car, and I'm going to come back and sue you." And he, "Okay, buddy, whatever you say." You know, he didn't even see this devil sticking his tongue out and prank masters on the card. And so I go and I put the dog in the car, and I bring in balloons and do a singing telegram for the guy. But the best part to me was that there was a lady in the lobby who was a dog groomer. And she came up to me afterwards and she said, "I know every kind of dog there is. I couldn't imagine what kind of show dog that mutt was." so that was just one of the 4,000 jobs we did in about 6 years up in DC.
That you just really have to not only be able to think on your feet for something like that, but your personality just really has to
Well,
work
I'm
with that.
flamboyant. What do you want? So, the hardest part was not laughing, because I did all kinds of things like clumsy waiters. Like, let's say you got a big family. Let's say they hired me and it's your birthday, and everybody in the family knows except you that I am this waiter that's going to just wreak havoc on your birthday party. So, and I would fall on the floor, and I would come up and hit my head on the thing and start screaming and just crazy. But you couldn't laugh in front of people. One time I was at a wedding and the bride and groom had got me there, and I was dressed in these flood pants, like they're really too short, and white socks and these giant clodhopper shoes. And I'm going through the buffet line, and in the middle they had all these rubber grapes and things like that. And so I'm trying to pull these grapes off to put them on my plate at the buffet. Everybody in the whole place is watching. I finally rip one off and I put it in my mouth and start trying to chew it like real loud. And so you can't laugh to let them know it's a joke. And then I would disappear and the whole place would like wonder what the heck happened. So that was just constant for 6 straight years.
That's so fun.
Well, thank you so much for being with us today. We have just really enjoyed our conversation.
Well, I'm really proud that I could be on a show, because I'm looking at your name on the screen right now. And we had a rule, like in my company, that if we got a call from somebody, his name Jeff, but it was spelled Geoff, we knew it was going to be trouble, because he's a big rich kid from over in Potomac or something. So I'm looking at your name, Rebekkah. Oh, it's no one. I knew it was going to be trouble dealing with you.
Well, hopefully you were happily disappointed.
No, I'm really, if there's one word to describe how I feel, it's flamboyant.
All right. Well, thank you all for joining us this week, and we will see you next week. If you like this episode, feel free to give us a review on Apple Podcasts.